Hi everyone, it's Katie from KDO, and I'm recording this presentation for all of the lovely people that could not make the Inspire event, or for anyone who simply wants to listen and perhaps gain an insight or two from the talk. This is not an exclusive presentation, so please feel free to share it around if you know anyone that could benefit at all. And just to give you a little bit of background, this talk was initially given at an event to raise money for my beautiful friend Christy Wilson, who is running her fifth New York Marathon, and along with World Vision, is raising funds to help some of the most vulnerable children around the world. If you know Christy, you will also know that she is one of the most caring, generous, giving, inspirational, and supportive women on the face of this earth. And if you don't know Christy, then I really hope that at some point in your lifetime you get to meet her because she is truly amazing, and it warms my heart that we can do something small to help support her in this awesome achievement. So if you would like to find out a little bit more about Christy's cause and even make a donation, no matter how big or small, you can do so at this website. And every dollar really, really does make a difference. And your contribution is hugely appreciated. So thank you so much. Before we get into things, I'd also just like to preface this talk by saying that every tool or activity that I reference is also a free resource that I'm providing to everyone listening. So if you're interested in discovering more about yourself and finding new strategies to enrich your life personally and professionally, then simply go to this link and use the code INSPIRE at checkout. Here you'll create a username and password, which will give you lifelong access to the program that I've provided for you in your online account. I really hope that you find the tools valuable and enjoyable, and know also that I'm here at any time if you would like any further support. Okay, all that being said, let's get into it. So, when Christy and I first decided to partner together on this event, I had a few things in mind regarding what I would speak about. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to talk about because I have a lot of different angles I could take and topics that I'm really passionate about. However, I wanted to find something that would hopefully touch, inspire, empower, or entertain all of you guys, but it's still hopefully something that would do all four of those things. The very next day after Christy and I worked on the invitation for this event, I had a miscarriage. I was carrying a 4-week-old baby that very few people knew about, and as you can imagine, it was absolutely devastating. It broke my world apart, and of course, I'm still healing. In the days that followed, I had absolutely no idea how I would ever work up the courage, drive, and motivation to work on something to speak about. I'm usually someone who's filled with passion and a deep desire to help and impact others. And even though I knew that I was still this person, I was definitely finding her a lot harder to find. This event was something I'd been so excited about because it combined all of my deepest loves, connecting with people, inspiring others, and giving back. Though after what happened, I struggled to find the passion or energy that typically gets me out of bed in the morning. I struggled to find the motivation to work on new projects or really even leave the house. I struggled to see how I was ever going to stand up in front of an audience of other people and inspire them to live to their fullest when I myself was feeling so empty. I didn't tell Christy this as I knew I would figure it out, and I refused to let down a friend who had been there for me through thick and thin. This event was not only about supporting a close friend, but it was also about helping vulnerable children all around the world. It wasn't about me, it was about them. I was doing it for them. And this really helped me a lot. It also highlighted how powerful it can be to get out of our own head and consider the bigger picture, to stop focusing so much on ourselves and our problems, and develop compassion for those around us. Develop compassion for what everyone else is going through too. Sometimes when we focus on just what we ourselves are going through, we create our own jail. We feel trapped. But loving and helping others is seriously what sets us free. Giving back truly heals the soul. Furthermore, having Christy as a partner for this event was one of the greatest gifts because she's one of the greatest examples of how people can rise in the face of adversity. She's one of the greatest examples of how every chapter in our life serves a purpose and eventually strengthens our heart and our soul, even if we can't see it at the time. Christy's story is one of the most inspiring of all times, and Christy, unknowingly, reminded me of just how much each and every one of us has the ability to touch and inspire others, not just through what we say, but through how we live. How we live our lives affects every single person around us. It is a much more powerful representation of who we are and what we value than words could ever be. Unknowingly, every single one of us are shaping and influencing so many people simply by the choices we make, simply by how we choose to live. And that leaves us with a great responsibility, a responsibility to live ethically and wholeheartedly. So, I made the decision to fight, to battle against my pain and to rebuild my courage, to practice what I preach and to own my story, every single chapter of it, even the difficult ones. In fact, especially the difficult ones, because it is the difficult ones that become the most important ones. It is the difficult ones that help us grow. I made a choice to find the strength to be at the event so that I could make a difference, albeit how small, in the lives of others. I did think very carefully about whether I would bring this up. A part of me felt scared, very scared. It's a topic that is rarely spoken about, even among close friends, let alone in public. But a much larger part of me, with a far louder voice, told me that it was the right thing to do. Somewhere in that voice were the words of Nelson Mandela, who reminded me that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the triumph over it. What happened the other week is a part of my journey. Why should I need to silence it? Our stories are a part of us, and they are also what connect us. Not everyone listening here, thankfully, will have shared my experience exactly, but I have no doubt that everyone has experienced something in their lives that has caused them deep and often unbearable pain. I have no doubt that everyone has been in a position where they felt fear and sadness, where they lacked the passion and joy that once motivated them through each day, or lost the confidence and courage to do things that they used to love, things that perhaps once even felt easy. When we feel these things, we have a choice. We have a choice to how we wish to respond to our experience and our feelings. We can let them define us, let them weigh us down and stop us from moving forward. We can let them rob us of all the things that make our life magical. Or we can refuse to let them do this. Sure, we can let them shape us, but not define us. We can let them help us grow by finding the hidden lesson and meaning. We can use them to help and inspire other people who might be going through something similar. We can use them to prove to ourselves just how strong and resilient we really are. We can use them to make a difference in the world of others and to inspire changes in our own lives that will enhance and enrich our future. All problems contain the seed of opportunity. Even the most upsetting of situations can become a channel for the creation of something new and beautiful. If you choose to adopt this perspective, you will not be surrounded by problems, but rather by teachers. These teachers are a gift, and I urge you to find them, to unwrap them, and importantly, to share them. So, today, I am not here to talk about sorrow and loss. I am here to talk about hope and gain, even in the face of adversity. Or should I say, especially in the face of adversity. I am here to talk about the power of finding and following purpose, the power of understanding who you are, your passions, your gifts, your values, and using these things every day to make a powerful difference in your world and the world around you. These are things that I have deeply believed in and passionately spoken about for some time now, but no other event in my life has reaffirmed the importance of purpose like the event of the other week. Without purpose, I would not be giving this talk. I would probably still be lying in bed. It is purpose that supplies the fuel that we need to get back up. It is purpose that gives us the courage and energy we need to re-engage with the world and truly make a difference. So then, let's talk about purpose. What is it? How do we find it? Why is it important? Often when we think about purpose, we think about the concept of our life purpose. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? Of course, purpose can mean different things to different people, but personally, I look at purpose a little differently from this. Sure, if you are one of the lucky few who really has found one and only true purpose in life, then that is awesome and I encourage you to follow it wholeheartedly. I, like many others out there, have not found one sole purpose to base my life. When I was younger, this sometimes affected me. Some people knew exactly what they wanted to do from the moment they started talking. I had friends that passionately wanted to be doctors or teachers or astronauts. I knew people that had a dream that they would work on every single day to reach, and to them, perhaps this was their purpose in life. I never had this. I drifted between dreams and ideas, from professional dancing to investment banking and everything in between. I desperately wanted to find my purpose, that wonderful thing that would finally make sense of my life. Many years later, there are still a dozen things that I want to do with my life. I still don't have some one and only purpose. I have many. And to my husband, don't worry, dating actually is not one of those. Except for with him, of course. Though, no longer do I feel confused or disheartened by having so many different passions and not just one and only purpose. In fact, I feel quite blessed by this. I am multi-passionate. I am lucky enough to have more than one passion and purpose. You see, I don't see purpose as being one almighty thing anymore. Your purpose can be a collection of 1,000 small things. It can be multifaceted or multi-layered. You might have a broader purpose for the year or a smaller purpose for each and every day within. You might have 6 different purposes going at one time. One for at work, one for at home. Maybe your purpose is constantly changing as you discover more and more about people and the world around you. When I created my business, my initial tagline was going to be KDO. Find your purpose. With the help of my husband, I later changed this to KDO, Purposeful Living. Now, although these are similar, there is a distinct difference. One looks at purpose as a thing, something that needs to be found, something that you can distinctly define. The other, the one that I went with, looks at purpose as a habit. It looks at purpose as a mentality and a philosophy. It looks at purpose as a way of living. This is really important. We often think that peace and happiness arise when we find our purpose. But it is my view and experience that peace and happiness also arrives when we live with purpose. To me, that is what is most important, living with purpose. Furthermore, a purpose does not always need to be found. It can also be created. You have the power to make each day purposeful simply through what you choose to say and do. You have the power every single day when you wake up. Maybe your purpose is not waiting for you to find it. Maybe it's waiting for you to create it. To me, purpose means waking up in the morning with intention and going to bed at night with pride. It means finding meaning and creating it too. Everyone has a purpose. It's just that often we try and find it somewhere out there, when in fact we need to create it from somewhere within. If you don't think you have a purpose, then make one. Doesn't have to be a purpose for your life. Maybe it's just a purpose for this week, for this day, or even right now for this moment. Maybe it's a purpose for this project or this experience. Maybe it's even a purpose for this relationship. The concept of purpose is not exhaustive. There is no limit to the breadth and depth of purpose you can have in your life. And in fact, the wonderful thing about purpose is that it is contagious with a profound multiplier effect. When you find or create purpose in one area of your life, it seeps into other parts too. It builds and it spreads. Don't wait for it to come to you. Don't wait for this magic moment when all of a sudden you find your purpose. Doing so will waste all of the moments in the interim, all of the moments where purpose exists too, if you dare to create it. Now, this might leave you wondering, how? How do you find purpose? How do you create it? Of course, finding and creating purpose is going to look different for everyone. However, there are 3 core ingredients that I use with every single person I work with, no matter their sex or age. These ingredients so far have never failed in empowering and enriching their lives. Their focus is on the inside, not on the outside. When we try and find meaning in the outside world, whether it be from money or our job, we create fear and insecurity, because these things can be taken away from us. However, when we find our purpose from within, no one can diminish it or take it away. It is truly ours. So the 3 ingredients I use are simple but powerful: passions, gifts, and values. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these 3 ingredients and how they can make your lives richer and fuller. So let's explore each one a little deeper. Firstly, your passions. When I think of passions, I think of energy. Your passions are your energy. They are the things that excite you and bring you to life. Now, passions might seem like a pretty easy and obvious concept. You might have a passion for reading or running or perhaps drinking wine, which I know is one of my passions. But however, when it comes to our career and our everyday life, sometimes we neglect to notice the little things that energize us, and on the contrary, the things that drain us. Our passions are an extremely valuable part of providing us with meaning and purpose. When we're doing something we're passionate about, we get lost and we feel the ever desirable sensation of flow. Have you ever been doing something that you love and lost all concept of time and space? That is flow. You might know it as something else, such as being in the zone or in the groove, but whatever you call it, it is the state in which we experience total involvement in life. We experience deep enjoyment, love, and creativity. There's a great book by a positive psychologist whose name that I can't quite pronounce, so I'm going to put it here on the screen and I'm going to call him Mr. C. In the book, Mr. C refers to flow as acting freely. He says it's when we act for the sake of the action itself, rather than for ulterior motives. And with this, we learn to become more than we were. Now, this is only possible when we're doing something that we're passionate about. Rarely, if ever, do you find yourself doing something that bores you and become in the zone. When you're doing something that bores you, a minute feels like an hour. But when you're in the zone, an hour feels like a minute. In fact, time does not exist. You become lost, free. You're doing it not for the money or the status or the attention or the Facebook likes, but for the passion, for the love. By getting lost, you're somehow found. This is particularly important in today's world where we are bombarded by so many external stimulants parading the false hope of happiness. Social media offers us the illusion of connection, while materialism lures us in, offering an emotional quick fix that later leaves us back where we started, if not behind. We search for meaning but find only a distraction. Comedian George Carlin once said that trying to be happy by accumulating possessions is like trying to satisfy hunger by taping sandwiches all over your body. While this is somewhat funny, it's actually not a joke. It's true. In his book, Mr. C also says that to overcome the anxieties and depressions of contemporary life, individuals must become independent of the social environment to the degree that they no longer respond exclusively in terms of rewards and punishments. To achieve such autonomy, a person has to learn to provide rewards to herself. She has to develop the ability to find enjoyment and purpose regardless of external circumstances. Embracing our passions is one of the greatest tools for us to achieve this. When we invite more of our passion into our life, we create fulfillment and well-being, personally and professionally. So to help people in identifying their truest passions so that they can incorporate more of those passions into their life, I use a couple of strategies. As I mentioned, these can be found in your online account. The first is an exercise consisting of a string of thought-provoking questions. The questions urge you to think about things that might seem simple, but that we don't often reflect on. For example, if you could write a book on anything in the world, what would it be? If time and money was no issue, what would you be doing differently? In the online activity, there are many more questions, and as you answer them, you will begin to notice trends in your answers. In these trends, you will begin to uncover your passions, and I urge everyone not just to uncover them, but to also embrace them, to start integrating them into your everyday life. I've also included an activity on how to do this personally and professionally. Remember that you do not always need to make a career out of your passion. You can just as easily and just as effectively bring your passions to your career. Just think for a moment about what ideas and what topics energize you. Another activity I like to use is that of mindfulness. What makes your heart race? What makes you excited? What makes you yawn? Take time during the week to just notice. Observe your energy in different situations. Think about the things that make you excited and those that make you drained, and do more of the former and less of the latter. I know it sounds simple, but it's actually very powerful. I also recommend keeping a list of your deepest passions nearby, and on days when you are feeling drained or defeated, Choose at least one of those passions and find a way, big or small, to honor that passion. It will renew you in a way that sleep and food does. Passions are our fuel. They are our energy. Discover them and embrace them. The second ingredient I'd like to talk about is gifts. I choose the word gifts deliberately. Often when people are thinking about career direction or where they'll excel, they think about skills. On our resume, we are taught to write our skills. We can use this program or that program. We're organized and detail oriented. We're great communicators and so on. But usually skills are something that anyone can learn. They are fairly transferable. While skills are of course important, I firmly believe that, as I said, any skill can be learned if you devote enough time and attention to it. But a more interesting area is gifts. Our gifts are our natural and inherent qualities that make us stand out from others. Our gifts are the things that might not come easy to everyone, but that we have a unique and special knack for. Our gifts are the things that are unique to us, and when we share them, we can make a huge difference because we are offering something to the world that others simply aren't or can't. In a recent book I read by Deepak Chopra, he said, "Everyone has purpose in life. Everyone has a unique gift or special talent to give to others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and exaltation of our own spirit, which is the ultimate goal of all goals." Every single one of us has a unique talent and a unique way of expressing it. There is something that you can do better than anyone else in the whole world. And for every unique talent and unique expression of that talent, there's also unique needs. When these needs are matched with the creative expression of your talent, that is the spark that creates affluence. That is the spark that creates purpose and fulfillment. Often when we think about giving, we think of giving money, or sometimes maybe time. We think about stepping away from our everyday lives and doing this in a uniquely giving setting, such as a charity event or volunteering for a certain organization. While giving through these channels is awesome and encouraged, sometimes we actually neglect the very accessible and powerful channels that are right in front of us. Every moment holds an opportunity to give. You hold gifts that through their very nature will positively change the world. The task for you is to find them and to share them. So, how do you know what your gifts are? A good first step is reflection. Again, in the online account, you will find activities to not only discover your gifts, but also to share them in your personal and professional life. Pondering simple but revealing questions can help you begin to uncover some of your gifts, such as, what do people most thank you for? What are the type of things people come to you for help on? What are the things you commonly get complimented on? What are the things that you tend to find easy or natural that other people struggle with? It is likely that your gifts will share some overlap with your passions. That is natural and even expected. The things we are passionate about are also the things that we can make the greatest impact with. Finding our gifts is an integral part of creating meaning and purpose. If you discover your core gifts and make it your mission to share them in some way, big or small, every single day, I guarantee that your life will become richer, and so will the lives of those around you. Okay, ingredient number 3 is values. Values is an interesting one because I feel like it's perhaps the most referenced but the least applied. If you ask anyone around you whether they have strong values, almost everyone will say, yes, of course I have strong values. Then you ask them, okay, what are those values? And most people will be stumped. They'll either pause for a long time and start rattling off some of the common ones, like love and honesty, or they'll more candidly tell you that actually I haven't really thought about what they are. Not many of us consciously take time to make an intentional decision to step away, reflect, and determine what our values are. Even less so do we think about how we are currently aligned to those values and what we could do to make our lives more consistent with the values we uphold. Why would we though? When in our lives are we prompted to do this? We are prompted to do many things through our school and college life, through our career and for our health. We are told to reflect on our skills for our resume, our health history for our doctor, our strengths and weaknesses for our job interviews. But at what point are we prompted to assess our values? We just assume we have them. We don't reflect on them or question them or check up on them. We just know they're there somewhere. And we're right, they are there somewhere. Our values are deeply ingrained in us. It's just that we often don't know what they are. And the risk with this is that we might be living a life inconsistent with our core values. And this is a very common source of deep and inner turmoil. The one thing I urge everyone to do, even if you do nothing else after this talk, is to define your values. And not just to define them, but to also assess them in the context of your life. To make active changes to better align your life to those values, more broadly and also in your everyday decisions. Our values are like a compass. They guide us in the right direction. When we are working with them, we feel whole. When we are working against them, we feel empty and internally conflicted. When I first started KDO, I spent an extremely long time reflecting on the most important building blocks for a fulfilling and enriching life, both personally and professionally. Values were something that I pondered deeply. I had always considered myself a moral person with strong values, but if you put me on the spot and asked me what they were, what are my core values, and how do they sit in a hierarchy, I couldn't answer you. I knew I had values, but I'd never really identified what they were and which ones were most important. Think about it for a moment. What are your top 5 values? In what order do they sit? Why are they important? Identifying your values and then assessing where your life is and isn't aligned with those values can be an incredibly powerful way to enhance meaning and fulfillment. When we lead a life consistent with our values, we feel peace, we feel whole, we feel full. Perhaps you are feeling unfulfilled at work, and after identifying and reflecting on your core values, you might see that many of them are lacking in your projects or organization. I recently worked with a wonderful woman, extremely passionate and intelligent, but who was just feeling so defeated at work. She knew she loved what she was doing, but could not understand why she felt so flat. After a long process of reflection, we identified her top core values, which were, in order, fairness, practicality, kindness, accomplishment, recognition, and independence. When we looked at her current work environment, we discovered that not even one of those values was being honored. Even that realization in itself was a huge milestone. Sure, it did not fix how she was feeling, but it provided her with insight and understanding. And when we have insight and understanding, we have the platform we need for change. She ended up changing teams to work under a leader who valued her autonomy and provided her with the greater recognition that she craved. She also made it her mission to practice greater kindness at work, even if it was not reciprocated. And just 2 months later, she already felt far greater fulfillment, not only in her work, but in her life more broadly. So that begs the question, how do you find your values? Of course, I have included an activity for this for you in your online account, as well as how to align those values both personally and professionally. It will begin with some thought-provoking questions, such as, what qualities encompass the best possible version of yourself? When in life have you felt most fulfilled and at peace, and what made you feel this way? Who are 2 people that you admire and respect the most in the world, and what qualities do they share? What are the parts of yourself in your life that you will never ever compromise? Of course, the activity goes much deeper, and once you discover your values, the most important next step is to align your life with them. Not just in one aspect of life, but in all aspects. I encourage you to even draw a chart with different important aspects of your life on the y-axis, such as work, family, friends, spirituality, and so on, and your core values on the x-axis. Tick the ones that you feel you are honoring in each aspect of your life, and for the ones that are not ticked, write just one way that you can better align that area of your life to that core value. Just this small exercise will have huge and lasting effects on your fulfillment and well-being. Furthermore, when we are aware of our values, decisions become easier. I used to be an incredibly indecisive person. I know my husband is probably laughing and thinking, Katie, you're still an incredibly indecisive person. And perhaps in some respects I am. I still struggle with whether we should have Japanese or Italian for dinner, which TV show we should watch, Modern Family or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But with the big decisions, I'm not. I used to be, but today I am not. I used to go through intense inner turmoil trying to make big decisions. I'd draw lists of pros and cons and ask everyone around me. I'd seek approval and affirmation. But today, after having firmly established my core values, big decisions are so much easier. I simply look at the options and I choose that which is best aligned to my core values. I know it seems simple, but try it. It is so powerful. I also recommend that you create a hierarchy for your values. Which ones are more important than others? Rank them in order. Sometimes we are faced with situations where there is a conflict in our values. One option honors one value and the other option honors a different value. Thus, having a hierarchy will really help. Go with the option that is most aligned to the higher value. From all the people I have worked with, living a life inconsistent with their values is one of the most common and largest drivers of inner turmoil. I urge everyone here to discover your values. Take 20 minutes away from social media this weekend and just reflect on your values. But also remember that your values are nothing until they are translated into actions. Discover them, define them, and then honor them. Honor them in your actions, honor them in your words, and honor them in your decisions. Honor them until you become them. So, there you have it. 3 core ingredients for a purposeful life: passions, gifts, values. When you embrace your passions, share your gifts, and live by your values, I can guarantee that your life will be filled with meaning and purpose. You will find fulfillment in areas that you previously didn't and discover peace where you previously felt troubled. You will find your truest self, and you will also discover that your truest self is the ripest seed for greatness. Last but not least, the piece that holds these 3 together: courage. Often we find ourselves living a life that we think we should be living, or that others might approve of us living, rather than the one we desire and design. It takes courage to follow your passions. It takes courage to share your gifts. And it takes courage to live by your values, particularly if they are conflicting with other people's. But it is also your responsibility. We have been given life and we have been given choice. We can choose to forgo that choice to other people, but by doing so, we fail ourselves. We can never reach our highest purpose and potential. Instead, we can choose to take responsibility for that choice, to live with purpose and to live with intention. In doing so, we not only derive meaning and fulfillment, but we also inspire others through our actions. As the final module in the online account, I have included some awesome tools and strategies for fighting fear, building courage, and chasing dreams. Being courageous is not our default disposition. In fact, being fearful is, because we feel more protected when we stay within our comfort zone. But we don't achieve great things out of fear. We achieve great things out of courage. When I finished school, I followed a path that felt approved from the outside world, but then I never consulted with my inner world. After 7 years in a career that did not really fulfill me, I resigned. I had thought that a happy life looked like this. Though I learnt the hard way that that is not what a happy life looks like. There is no recipe and there is no formula. You've got to figure it out yourself. You've got to fill in the blanks. You've got to figure out who you are, what makes you tick, and then you need to have the courage to embrace it and to chase it. It's not going to look like this. In fact, it's going to look a lot more like this. And that is okay, because it all becomes a part of your story. And your story is what makes you you. It's what provides you with the lessons and tools to connect with others and accomplish incredible things. After a long and deep period of reflection, I built KDO. KDO is a product of my passions, my gifts, and my values. It is also a channel to help others find theirs. KDO is about living a life with purpose, about discovering who you are and building the courage to share it with the world. I hope that through this talk, even if it just be in a very small way, that I have helped you discover new tools or insights to do this. Our journeys are crazy, wonderful, unpredictable, exciting, scary, and everything in between. We cannot always control them, but the key is to own them, to wake up each morning and to live with intention, to live your passions and share your gifts, to stay true to your values, and importantly, to muster up the courage to share yourself with the world. This is your story. Make it a great one. Thank you.